In Transport Fever 2, the goal is to create the best cargo and passenger networks. And I've spent the last week going through a massive Excel spreadsheet of all the statistics. I've been through all 89 trains in Transport Fever 2, and today I'm going to present to you the best trains in Transport Fever 2 for cargo. In Transport Fever 2, there are two types of cargo trains. There are hub cargo trains and there are shunter cargo trains. The first hub cargo train unlocks in 1900, so here's an example of what a cargo network might look like pre-1900. We've got trains that are delivering a raw good directly point to point to the places that they need to go. And this is making us a fair amount of money, which allows us to do more projects later on. And this is really important, but obviously this is just a temporary track that's going to get all pulled up later on when we can upgrade to a better version. The only reason we don't upgrade to a better version at the beginning is because 1850 to 1900 there are no trains available that can do the job. We will cover what a hubbing train is in just a second, but let's talk about what happens when you start a new game of Transport Fever 2. So when you make a new save of Transport Fever 2, you begin the game with 3 locomotives, and the one to use for cargo is the Baldwin's 6 wheels. If you don't have all 3 of these trains and you only have one on your menu, that means you've got the wrong settings and that you don't have all of the vehicles enabled. And I'll show you how to very quickly rectify this. Press escape and, presuming you've already saved the game, load game and then go to select options, advanced settings and set the vehicles to say all. Otherwise, the majority of content will be locked behind a wall. So you want to make sure all 3 vehicle packs are enabled. The 3 locos, the Baldwin's 6 wheels has the most amount of power and can carry the most amount of cars. The Russian Class V is a little bit faster, but it struggles with weight. It can't carry much weight behind it, which makes it great for passenger trains. I know it's a cargo video, but since it's the first locomotive, one of 3 that everyone uses, I think it's good to cover. So this is good for your commuter type passenger when you first begin the game. And then the D13 is like a mix of both. So you want to kind of commit either way to speed or power. So when you first begin the game and you want to do cargo, grab the Baldwin's 6 wheel for your first locomotive for cargo. And the biggest issue you face right now is not having that much money in the bank. So you want to first of all pay off your loan and also have a significant amount of money rolling in. And that's super easy to do. All you have to do is you have to place down a station near a raw good. For example, here I've got logs. And then these logs are going over to this sawmill over here. And you can tell what goes where because there's a little arrow and the arrow points to where it goes. You can open this menu bottom right, industry statistics, and you sort by product. And then now it'll tell you what the requirements are and what the outputs are for each of these. And you can have a little read through this menu. This button here will take you to different industries. If you just click this, it'll take you exactly where things are on the map. So go to the rail tool, create a simple line that's going to connect a raw goods like logs to something like a sawmill, or for example stone to construction materials or whatever, and that's going to get you some money rolling in. You should double track this and you should have several trains running down the route. All of this will be deleted eventually, but we just need some money to roll in. And this is what's classed as shunter cargo. And it's also using a point-to-point method, which is inefficient and bad, but it's the only thing we've got available to make money in the 1850s, and the hubbing method, which we'll show you in a little bit, will overwrite this and do a much better job. And another thing that's really important I'll quickly cover, make sure that in this option here, you press down on the time, and then you set the date speed, take it all the way to the bottom, and then 1 up. And 1/4 is the best speed guaranteed. Anything faster, games technology progresses way faster than you can actually keep up with, so you end up missing sections of the game, which is not great. And if you put it on pause, obviously you're not going to unlock stuff. So having it on 1/4 is the best speed. So leave it on this and don't change it. That way you will fully experience the game. So do your setup and keep building until you get to the year 1900, and then the gameplay will change. And here's the most complex bit of the video, so stay with me because it's really important and it gives you a massive head start over 99% of Transport Fever 2 players. So now we have all of these vehicles unlocked, and honestly every single one of these vehicles is pretty much exactly the same before the 10-wheeler. Everything here pretty much exactly the same stat wise, like they're all very similar. So you can use whichever one of these you like, whichever looks prettiest for your routes. Out of all of these, the best one marginally is the Mogul, FYI. Now, when you get to 1900, you get these 2 trains unlocked, the 10 wheels and the A35. And you'll notice that these go the same top speed, but the A35 has double the power. So that means the 10 wheels is really good for passenger services, because for passenger you don't need to haul a lot of weight, so you don't need a lot of power. but it's got a high top speed and it's a lot cheaper. However, we do need power. So for that reason, we're going to get the one with double power, the A35, which costs double, but it has double the power and it goes the same speed. That's the one we're going to look forward to when we build our route. But speaking of route, let's cover how to build the route. So what I've done is I've enabled the mod minimap, and this allows me to see the map and just neatly demonstrate everything that's going on. Let me just be very clear, because there's always someone who says this. You do not need to download this mod. This is literally just so I can easily demonstrate what's going on. You do not need this mod. It is just a visual helper for the video. With that in mind, let's talk about what we need to do. Your map seeds are going to generate in a square formation, like this map is right now. You can see it's a square, or it's going to generate in a diamond, which is just a square 45 degrees rotated. When you first start a game of Transport Fever 2, one of the first things that you need to do is go to the center of the map, like I've got here with my little circle that's showing where we are, is to find the city that is closest to the exact center of the map. And we've got a choice here. We can choose between this one, and this one. I've selected this one to be my capital city. For no particular reason, just because I like the geography around where the city is compared to the others. But either three of these could have worked. With that in mind, this city here is going to be our capital city. So I'd recommend that you click on the city and then press rename and add a little plus icon before the city so you can see that it's a capital city clearly. Now with that in mind, you want to have what's called a distribution hub near the capital city. Not inside, but near. So just about the center of the map is perfect. Around here is really good. So I'll go to my paint tool and I'm going to just paint a little circle on the ground of where this is going to be. And if you've got the minimap mod as well, you can also place a station down, just a cheap one like that. It's going to get deleted, but it's just really for a visual on the map. So we can see, like you see, got a little blue dot there now. We can see where things are. And this is what's going to be our distribution hub. So this is where all the cargo is going to go through. This is, at any point, cargo can be taken off at this station. It's going to all make sense in a second, so stick with me. Then we're going to need what's called sorting yards. And if you have a long map, which is 1 to 5, then you're going to want to have 3 yards total, including the distribution hub. If you have a square map like I have here, you're going to want to have 5 yards, including the distribution hub, like I've got here. So 1 in the middle, and then you're either going to have, depending on if the map is square or diamond in its seed generation. So I would have 1 up here in this corner, 1 up here in this corner, 1 down here in this corner, and 1 down here in this corner. If you have more of a diamond map, you have 1 in the north, 1 in the south, 1 in the east, 1 in the west. But because mine's more of a square, I'm going to put them in the corners of the map. And for that reason, I'm going to have northwest, northeast, southeast, and southwest yards. So I can go and find some good spots on the map like we just spoke about. And I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to place down a station, not a permanent one, just so we know where things are. And I'll do this all 4 corners. And now on our mini-map, we can see a little bit clearer where things are and where things are going to connect. So there's going to be an X pattern on our map crossing over. If yours is more of a diamond shape, then it'll be a plus, the lines that are going across. I hope this is all making sense so far. But now we're going to place our stations down for real. Now we've got the rough placement. I would always start out with a distribution hub. We can delete the old one we've got. We can place down our own. I'd always recommend that you start out with the 1 track and put it on the max length with just the 1 track. And we're going to place it down where you want it. There's just fine for me. You want to try and make sure that it's facing away from mountains and stuff. So obviously the track can go down here or it can go over here. And the next thing you're going to do is go to configure and then go to the tracks menu. We're going to extend this as much as physically possible. Make it as long as you possibly can go. And if you've done everything right before 1900 and you've made the money from these routes, these point-to-point routes we talked about earlier, then money should not be an issue for you. If it is an issue, I recommend that you go back and maybe pause the game for a bit, because I think, no offense, the progression's probably been a bit too slow, and that's okay, but maybe just pause the game so you're not missing out on the game. Anyway, extend all of this to the maximum length, and then now tracks, we're going to put on a track there, a track there, a track there, and then this 4th track is going to come all the way down to the other side as well, and then we're going to add these cargo platforms on this side as well. Cool, and now these 2 in the middle we just delete. And now we can go to our track tools, regular track tool, not on the configure menu. And we'll just fill this middle bit in with standard tracks. All will make sense in a little bit. That is now a perfect setup. That is lovely stuff. And the reason that we add those 2 tracks in between those platforms is because this hubbing track that we're going to use between these 2 cargo hubs is the same speed limit as your commuter passenger trains are going to go at. So they're going to share tracks for the most efficiency. And that's why you need that gap in the middle, because these passenger trains aren't going to want to stop at the cargo hub. They're going to want to keep going straight through, and that's why we've added that. And to start, you only need to do one hub. So you can look at the map, or the mini map in my case, and look what resources are where. So down here in the southwest, we've got a bit of crude oil, and we've got oil refinery in this distribution hub area. So potentially we could start out by running crude oil to here. And also down here, we've got coal and iron ore. So we could take this coal and iron ore also up with the oil to this distribution hub. That would then get taken on a shunter train to the steel mill, and then the steel would come back down and it would get loaded onto the train. It would then go back down with both the oil and the steel would go back down this exact same route, go down to this southwest yard, and then another train would take that to this plastics factory. Then the plastic and the steel would go down to this goods factory. And if you can imagine that for every single resource on the map all sharing, it gets OP very quickly, because what's called the game's director is going to automatically assign cargo to different places. So with that in mind, let's build our yard down in the southwest. We'll build it around here near where we put our station before. So I've made a little mock-up here of what this might look like. Here's my southwest yard, and then obviously here's my distribution hub up here. And connected to each, I've had some trucks that are just kind of linking things together. It's definitely not the best solution, and a shunting train is better. This is probably what you're going to start out doing from the get-go, especially when you haven't got that much money to begin with. This is obviously going to get replaced with trains anyway at some point. And you can see this in action because I've decided to place down a empty cargo station between these two, because obviously this is going to get replaced, this truck yard, at some point. There's so many trucks here, it's crazy. But yeah, it's just good to have that. I've kind of left that space there. In reality, when I rebuild this, instead of doing a 2-platform setup, for the shunter trains that are connecting to a yard like this, you would have a 6-track setup like this would be minimum. But I've kind of just left that there as a placeholder. And now to get this to work, you would have to connect all of the nearby industries we just talked about. The crude, the coal, the, I guess, chemical plant as well, the iron ore mine, and then also the goods factory can be connected. And then all of this stuff would get taken to this yard over here. And then I've also constructed our track to meet these 2 yards. So I've got a track that goes all the way along here from this yard, and it connects up to this yard as well. And then the same thing on the other side as well. Trucks come, pick the stuff up that's getting delivered, takes it to the steel mill, takes it to the oil refinery, and then turns back around with the stuff and then drops it back off at the yard to go back the other way. And then these same trucks pick the stuff up, take it to where it needs to go. That's how this system works. You can see it's very profitable. Look at the difference in money compared to that and the point-to-point method we just talked about with just shunters in 1850. And this is with the trains that we unlock in 1900. If you use them appropriately, you can make a lot of money. So I've deleted the trains on this line from my example. We're going to buy the new trains and show you what you need to get. So in 1900, you get these 2 trains, obviously. You get the 10 wheels and the A35. And these are the trains that you need to be thinking about. Like I say, this one is more for your passenger trains. So the A35 being the first cross-country cargo train, you can get 2 of these. Yes, that's right, a double head, because you're probably going to need that. It's going to be a pretty big train. And then the top speed of this is 100, so we want to go to cargo and find out the most fast one. And obviously, because it's cargo, it's a little bit more complex than passenger. We do have to watch those speed restrictions. The fastest at this point in the game is 80 kilometers an hour. We're going to start out by adding 5 of each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just add 5 of each different type of train cars like that. And then purchase, and we'll just do the 1 for now, because what you should do is you should check which resources are doing what. So you should always have at least 1 of every type of train car on these trains that go between the yards, at least 1, even if there's no industry hooked up. And that's because when you do hook things up in future, it takes time for things to kick in. So if you invest all at once into a bunch of cars, it's a waste of money. If you only have 1, the goods will stack up before that happens, so it'll be great. Inside of the depot, you can see what cars hold what in this little menu here by having a look. So we've obviously got crude oil, coal, and iron ore, and then that's the majority of things that's running through this hub, the majority anyway. So what we might want to do is we might go to the modify tool, and we might maybe add a few more tank cars that's going to carry that crude oil, and definitely add a few more gondolas that's going to carry that iron and coal that's going to get taken up here. For that reason, I'm going to add a few more of these. So I'm going to drop down all of the other cars to just 1 car, like that, and I'm going to add 5 tank cars, and I'm going to add 10 gondolas. I think that'll be about right. Modify, and that'll leave us with this train here. A good place to start with this is typically 2 trains, and then you want to go ahead and create a new line, and this new line is going to start out at this yard, and it's then going to go to your distribution hub, and then obviously back, and you want to make sure that it's a double tracked and it's one-way traffic as well, so you can have multiple trains running on here. And honestly, it's really that simple. Launch these trains onto this line. You can call this as well West Yards to Distribution Hub, aka WY-DH. Then you can go ahead and press play and your train should start coming out. And if you set it all up correctly, then you will get your cargo appearing on these platforms. These trucks are going to start delivering and dropping off. And you can see that in action here. All this stuff's coming along. So this train is now going to arrive. And this is our first cross-country train. It's that simple to set up, to be honest. All you have to do after this really is to watch the dates, and I'll explain all of the exact dates and what trains you should get at what dates in a second throughout the game. But apart from that, all you have to do is kind of set up the other 3 yards. So obviously we've got the one in this corner, the one in this corner, and the one down here in this corner as well, and just hook all of these up to the distribution hub. That's really all you have to do. And then obviously hooking up all of the nearby industries into the yards that are close to it. And literally after that, the game's director is going to automatically assign where cargo goes. It's so simple. And all you've got to do then is just, like I say, manage the trains, make sure they're the best they can be, and also manage how many bits of rolling stock are on these trains. It's so simple, honestly. So I'm going to build the other 3 hubs, and I'll show you what that looks like all together. Okay, so here we are. I've built up these hubs now, and I can show you how this works. So this is the hub that we had before. You can see it's growing a little bit. We've got a lot more cargo coming in now. And let's take an industry and follow it through the entire supply chain it's going. So I'm going to just pick a random industry that's hooked up. This one here is cool. So the crude oil starts here, gets pumped out of the ground, gets loaded onto this train here. And after going that short distance, now arriving at the drop off of the southeastern hub down here. Then it will be loaded onto this platform here. Then you can see the fuel getting unloaded, put onto this platform right here. And it's at this place where loads of different goods come on different trains to the drop-off area. For example, we've got some iron coming in here. It'll all get dropped off and then loaded onto one platform to go onto one big train, and then everything gets taken to the next hub. Our cargo hubbing train arrives and it's going to load everything on. And some people think, isn't it going to annoy the industries by having stuff waiting around on platforms and stuff's not going to get delivered quickly? No, that's not how it works in Transport Fever 2. In fact, it's not how it works in real life either. If I'm an industry, a customer, who wants to buy, say, like 400,000 tons of iron ore or whatever, I am going to want that every month. I'm going to want a delivery of that iron ore. I don't care how old the iron ore is or where it's come from, as long as I'm getting the iron ore. That is the exact same in Transport Fever 2. So as long as you have the stuff waiting to go and the stuff is actually getting delivered, it doesn't matter as long as stuff is actually going to where it needs to go. By doing a hubbing train like this, you get your top speed of the cargo trains to go up to 160 compared to the other trains which go a bit slower. So our crude's rolling down the track. It's going to go all the way down here to this cargo hub in the center. And with that train arriving in to the main distribution hub, the crude oil gets dropped off and it gets transferred onto this train here. And then another one of these type of trains, the cargo shunters, take it from the hub and they're going to go down their own separate paths, dropping off where they need to go at the individual industries. This oil train arrives at the oil refinery, so it's basically swapping the cargo, crude oil unload, and then the refined oil load. Then that goes all the way back to the cargo hub where we just came from, and it goes to the distribution hub where several trains go all north, east, south, west to distribute wherever this needs to go. And this is controlled by what's called the game director. And the director is what automatically assigns cargo to go places. So once you start plugging everything together and connecting all of the industries to one, then it can automatically adjust for demand. You don't have to do it manually. So now that oil is getting sent all over the place. Mostly looks like to the northeast yard, where there's some kind of a plastic plant here going on. But it's getting sent all over the map for various purposes. So I've got currently the southwest, the southeast, and the northeast yards that are connected and plugged into this distribution hub, but no northwest yard. And for that reason, I'm going to quickly build it and show you how you actually hook one of these into the hub. It's really simple. So obviously build your hub in the center, and then let's go ahead and figure out what to do. So in this configuration, there's a lot of industries in this sort of area. You want to kind of be in the middle of it. You've also got to account for terrain as well. So there's a mountain here, a bit of an issue. So you'd have to build it slightly off to one side. That's okay. So as long as it's pretty much close to the industries as much as possible, you're all good. So find a good spot that's nice and flat. You're going to go to the stations, cargo station. I choose 6 and make it 320. You can make it longer if you like, but you don't have to. I also usually turn catenary off and make sure it's standard track type, because you really don't need to go any faster than 120 when it's a really short route. Then after that, I'll grab myself a 2-track platform and I'll set that to high speed catenary yes. Flip this around and plug it into the other station like that. Then expand this, go as far as possible, It's going to cost a little bit of money, but it's going to be worth it. Just bring it out as much as it will let you. You want these hubbing trains to be as long as physically possible, which I believe in the game in vanilla is about 800 meters. Lovely. And then when that's in, these two are automatically connected. Let's talk trains. First of all, let's connect the main line together. So with our fast high-speed tracks, we'll grab them on the end here, bring them out and bring it to about there. You want to be using these long sweeping curves, remember? They're long sweeping curves just like this. Then at the end over here, put an X crossover in. Or if you've got one platform, just bring it into one platform. Then obviously we're going to connect this track. Is going to go all the way to the distribution hub, which is all the way over here. So to plan that out, basically you want to take as straight a line as possible. So it's pretty straight already and it's pretty flat already, which is really useful. We can reuse this track here if we actually just pause the game, get rid of a few signals. We can just come straight off here. Obviously keeping that speed nice and high as well. 160 is the speed you need to have if you're doing these hubbing trains. So make sure that the track says that, and then we'll put our signals back in. Obviously connect these two together now. That track now connected up to the hub. Signal it up and put an end signal on here like that. That's now connected up. We can then connect these surrounding industries that are a little bit further away. We can do this really quickly. It's really simple. Grab yourself a cargo station, make it one platform, and the standard track site with no catenary. You can just connect it however you like really, and then bring your track around and then connect this up to the hub. Make sure you're doing this in the standard track as well, or it's going to cost you a lot of money. You don't need catenary because there's no point paying for it. We're not going to need it. See, I'm not happy with this route, so I'm going to take an alternate route. You always want to take the straightest path. And with this kind of junction to pull everything into the yard, that goes into a 2-track main line. That can keep going outwards. And then we can pull off this main line a simple switch. It's going to go like that. Try and keep it relatively fast speed-wise. It is just leaving the yard, so it's not going to be going crazy speeds, but you want to keep it relatively fast. We can expect these trains to be going fairly slow, like between 100 and 120 is kind of the range you want to aim for with these shunters. We're going to be using these cheaper cargo vessels here, which go a little slower. And also the train we'll be using is most likely the DF4B, which also goes 120. So that's a track speed you want to aim for. You could use the C40 as well. You're probably better off using the DF4B because it has slightly less power. Which means it's going to be a lot cheaper. It's 200,000 less a year to run. And it's doing the same job. You only really need a lot of power with heavy trains. And these aren't going to be heavy trains. They're only going to be pulling small amounts. Now you can connect these two together. You can go make a new line. It's going to go from the hub. It's going to drop off there. And then make sure that these are alternate platforms as well. If it's giving you an issue like this, sometimes just adding a signal before the junction helps. Here's a common example of a mistake. So the tracks are built out to go in all three, but all of these need the double slip switch in this instance for this yard. If you want to use all the tracks from just the one side instead of both sides, because typically you'll have trains coming in from this side, trains coming in from this side, but we're going to have pretty much all our trains, if not all of them, coming in from the one side. Hence why we need more of these crossovers over here. And with that, you can now do these alternate platforms on all of them like that. That becomes stone 3A, bricks 2A. We can place our depot close to the tracks, and that way we can just slide the train straight in onto the routes. And that will also apply for all routes as well that come off this track because it's attached to the main sort of route that goes into the hub. Purchase our DF4B or whatever train is available. I'm just talking end game. We spoke about the trains already in the game and what to get, but this is late game, so we'll use these. It's going to load stone and it's coming back with bricks. I reckon 3 of those will do the job. Set that on the line. Quick depot on the side of the main line. I'm also going to buy our cargo hubbing train, which we'll use the Eurodual for. And then crucially, we'll go down to cargo. We'll get 1, 2, 3, 4 of these, so total, and then buy. And then stick that onto a new line that's going to go from distribution hub here. And it's going to go to over here in the northwest. Make sure these are alternate platforms too. This becomes distribution hub to northwest yard. These are all grouped together nicely. Now obviously this looks kind of ridiculous, but don't worry, we're going to fix this. The only reason we do this is because for the director to do its job, it needs to have like at least one of the available options to like load things on board. Just by adding all of the different types of train cars, it's going to basically say, oh hey, we're open for business. You can start making orders and stuff on the cargo. And then all you got to do is just add the right amount of cars once it's done that. So simple. But still, we've got these ones to connect. So we've already connected the iron and the construction materials. I'm going to go ahead and connect all the other industries and then we'll come back. And with all of the industries surrounding this area now connected up, we can then press play and see all the trains start to roll out of the depot. And then the game's going to start to tell us what amount of demand and what amount of supply is needed for this train. And we can then modify the values of the amount of train cars on board the hubbing train that we can see here that's going to reflect the correct amount of cars needed to transport all of the goods around the map, basically. And then once everything's been transported by this train from this northwest hub to the distribution yard, it gets sent everywhere all over the map, and the game just does that for you. It automatically decides the cargo and where it goes. So simple. So I'm going to let the game run for a little bit. There's a bit of a traffic jam at the moment, all these trains coming out of the depots, but once they've got out, we should start to see some of this cargo getting transported. Let's talk about the vehicles that are coming out of the road depot. So there's a couple of these that have road vehicles instead of a train. This one because it's so close, and also this one over here because of the remote location, the rough terrain, and also the fact we have an industry that's the exact same right next door. This kind of just serves as a backup industry. It's good to have connected to the network still, but doesn't need that massive supply when there's also this industry here doing the same job. It's just kind of a good backup. And everything else is connected by rail. So now we just have to wait and see what cargo stacks up on this platform. And you're going to notice it's going to take a minute once all these trains get out also to get the cargo actually rolling in. But don't worry, it's just the system adapting, and it's starting to basically, when this is all connected the first time, split the cargo and send it to where it needs to go actually from this hub. Because right now there's only 3 of the hubs that have been connected for so long. Now there's 4. Suddenly the director has to reassign all the cargo for all of the hubs to get the most efficiency, and that's what it's doing. It just takes a second just to get adjusted and get the cargo flowing to this new place and from this new place, but once it does, it's really good. Make sure as well that your distribution hub is connected to the capital city with drop-off points, as you can see like I've got here with these trucks that are coming in, and they're dropping off things throughout the town on various different stops in the city. And having it spread out is better because that means more area of town is going to grow instead of just one concentrated area. And by having an output basically where things are going to end up going to in the final end, for example here this is accepting it wants fuel, this one wants goods, having an end place where it's getting delivered to ensures that the product is going to be produced. And we can already start to see now our northwest yard has lots of things. The director sent a lot of things to go on this route. We've got 600 logs, 94 stone, 449 grain, 64 planks that need to go. So let's go on our train right here. We're going to upgrade it to try and include some of these numbers. I'm just going to pin this right here so we can have a look what we're doing when we're upgrading this train. So go to this. We're going to get rid of the cars we've got on here. Now we know the values, the numbers that it's going to use. We need about 600 logs delivered. We're not going to make the mistake of adding 600 capacity because that'd be way too long. I mean, that's going to make it what, that would make the train 600 meters. That's almost the entire length of the platform. So we're not going to use that. We need something that's a bit shorter that's going to cover all of the cargo that needs to go to its place. I recommend that you start out with maybe 5 or 10 and then work your way up. I tend to do it in increments of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Next up is stone. Not as much stone, only 92 to go, and these carry 20 each. So I'm going to put, let's say, I think maybe 5's reasonable. I mean, there's more stuff to be delivered later on down the line from the other stop as well, which we'll cover in a second, but I think 5's okay. Next is grain. That uses in vanilla the gondola cars, same as these. So you can actually, in this instance, double up. If there's more grain than there is stone, then the same cars can be used. If there's more stone than there is grain, the same cars can be used. So we've got 400 of this to go, so that works out at about 20 cars. But we don't want that many, obviously. I'm going to add 10 of these. We've still got plenty left. That's only 400 meters, and we got 800 to work with. 800 being the max size in Transport Fever 2. And then next we need some more flat cars for these planks here. We need 63 planks. Well, these are holding 20. I'm just going to add 3 to do the whole lot. And I'm going to modify that. That's going to then make the train 463 meters, which is not that long in the grand scheme of things. It's going to get longer once more cargo is getting pushed around. But this train is actually really short in the grand scheme of things. There's loads of platform left to cover here, and loads more on this side. You look at it compared to this train here, for example, and see what I mean. This is a full length train coming from the southwest yard, and the difference in length is going to be pretty significant. And we've also got to bear in mind on the other side, this is all outbound, so there's stuff to come back here. So there's loads of stuff on this platform over here, for example. There's going to go all of this iron ore, all this coal and food and stuff. All of this stuff needs to go as well. So we need to add train cars for this. 32 food that need to be transported. So we need to add some of those cars that carry that because we currently don't have any. It's 32, so I'm going to add 2 of these cars. We don't need too many. And then we've also got 127 iron and 26 coal to be delivered so far. Well, we've already got 15 of these gondola cars on board, so we shouldn't need any more cars for that because it can use these cars for multiple uses. It's currently got grain in these gondola cars, but once this gets unloaded at the stop, we can then use these again for the iron in theory, and there shouldn't be any issues. Let's see if that works out. But we've got pretty much a full train here heading down the tracks. So this is our first arrival of the inbound goods coming into the northwest yard, And then when this departs, it's going to be our first departure of the goods going towards distribution from Northwest Yard. I have spent the last week reading Excel spreadsheets, and I've worked out not only the best cargo trains, but I've also figured out the best passenger trains, which I've done in a separate video you should watch after this video. But the best cargo trains is a little bit more complex than passenger, because with passenger, there's no speed restrictions. Like I say, with cargo, it's a little bit different. Sometimes you'll unlock a train that goes really fast, you think, oh, it's great, but the cargo cars can't go that fast. So with that in mind, let's talk, in date order, the best trains that you should use in your save in Transport Fever 2. So obviously in 1900 we get the A35, we've established that. Now the trains that you get before 1900, like I say, they're all pretty much exactly the same in the specs, but the Mogul is very slightly better. And that basically takes the cake for the best train, for the shunter class at least. And that's why every single route that's going in here, and there's quite a few, they're all using these Mogul trains. Every single one of these is a Mogul. I tell you, they're pretty good. They're as good as it gets for quite a while. And that's the way it's going to stay until 1914 is the date. And when it gets to this date, you unlock the 75 BAD, and then all of these routes trains we can then replace and put on this new train, the 75 BAD instead. It's a direct upgrade, it's fantastic. By the way, if I skip over trains and don't mention them, then there's genuinely not much point, or there's just a better alternative to these trains. There's a reason that I've skipped over them. I'm only covering the most important trains for cargo in Transport Fever 2 today. So go through and on each of these, replace these trains with the new type of trains. And do that for all of those shunter routes. So in 1919, you're going to get the EP2 unlocked, which is this train here. And you might be tempted because it's got a lot of power to upgrade this. However, you're wasting a lot of potential with this, because the maximum speed, remember, because of speed restrictions, is going to be 80 kilometers an hour. So actually you're paying for a train that can do 120, but you're only getting 80 out of it. That's not a good deal, and you're going to be wasting a lot of money on that upkeep per year. So it's best to keep the A35 on this train. What you can do is in the year 1925, you first unlock the ability to do high-speed tracks. So go to the rail tool and select the high-speed track tool, and make sure all of your cargo hubbing tracks on the main line are blue. This is going to come in useful later, because it means that your trains are going to be able to go at a higher top speed, which is important. It might not be right now since we're stuck to 80 kilometers an hour as our speed limit, but it will be very important once we cross the threshold of 120, which is the fastest that a standard track can go. This is why we need high-speed tracks, so it's good to put them in. So next is the year 1950, and that's when our speed restrictions change on our cargo. We go from a max speed of 80 kilometers an hour to a max speed of 120 kilometers an hour, and this changes things. This now means that way back when, because obviously we unlocked in 1919 our EP2, which goes 120, we can now use that to its full potential. And obviously since then we've got more trains unlocked, but the best one out of all of these unlocked is still the EP2. So don't be fooled and get a more modern one just because it's newer. The older one is better here. So to get this, first of all, go to the track tool once again, the electrification tool, and we're going to then, on all of the mainline for the cargo hubbing train, we're going to make all of this electrified. The EP2 is one of the most important trains in Transport Fever 2. Fantastic train. S tier. So now all of that is blue, the whole line's electrified. We can then select our locos, and then we can replace these old A35s with EP2s. I hope you're following along with everything so far. And feel free to pause the video or even rewind sections of this video, and you can always save this for later for when you're playing your game and you're a bit struggling on what train to get when. Make sure as well when you're replacing these trains to replace the cargo carriers behind as well, because we're still stuck, remember, on 80 kilometers an hour being the top speed. So we need to change this. We'll get the same amount of cars though. So we've got 15 fuel cars. So we'll go back and replace this. You can replace by selecting all and then pressing this button here. So we're going to add 15 cars, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then we have 20 gondola cars, or like hopper cars, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then we have 10 stake cars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we have 10 box cars, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And hopefully I've counted that correctly. And we should have the right amount of cars now. We can go 120 kilometers an hour top speed. And look at that, we got a fantastic train as well. This is going to be able to carry a lot of cargo. Looking absolutely fantastic. The next unlock is in 1956. And in 1956, we get what's called the TE3. And why is the TE3 important? Well, the TE3 in some regards replaces these 75 BADs that we've got on this route. However, here's the kicker. So if you've got a shunter train that's going to the hub to these raw industries. If you got one where the route's kind of short, like for example, this coal to this hub here is quite a short route, the bad is better for this kind of route. But however, you might want to look at a route like here, for example, where we're going from this distribution hub and then we're going to go all the way down here to this goods factory, for example. Or maybe even it might work here too, where we're going to this fuel refinery as well. It's just a little bit further away, just that extra sort of leg away from the hub. And that extra distance warrants where you might want to get a TE3 for this example. So maybe we can locate our 75 bads for this route and we can go and replace these with the TE3s. Make sure as well, like I say, to change the cars on here as well, so you've got the correct speed. We go 100 kilometers an hour with the TE3s. That's 10 kilometers an hour faster top speed compared to the bad. That's not an issue for the bad because it's only going short distance, but if it's going a slight bit longer distance, then the extra 10 kilometers does help. And then you can go and also add these different cargo cars. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Replace. And that's right, the TE3 now running on that route that's going a little bit longer distance compared to some of the other routes. That's great. Also something worthy of note, in 1958 we unlock the GP9, and the GP9 is exactly the same stat-wise as the TE3. So you can either choose, you can have this train here or you can have the TE3, whichever you think really looks coolest. They're pretty much exactly the same functional-wise, so it's up to you. You can have this one or you can have this one. It really doesn't matter which one you choose, it's up to you. Personal preference on the aesthetics of the train. So during this time between the early 60s to the 80s, those 20 years you want to spend a lot of time kind of investing in getting the tracks perfect, especially when we're talking about commuter trains using the same tracks, getting the traffic perfect and stuff, making sure there's no issues. Also, you want to be balancing out your train cars to make sure you have the perfect optimum amount of these different types of train cars on each of these trains that are going between each hub. Obviously in your map, you're not just going to have one distribution hub going to your southwest yard, you're going to have also 3 other yards as well to think about. But you want to make sure that all the trains going between these have the optimum perfect amount of train cars behind for the demand that is going to. I hope that makes sense. In 1982, you unlock the Soviet VL80. It's an optional upgrade, you don't have to get this. If you're happy with the EP2, you're more than welcome to keep it. However, this is the difference between the EP2 and the VL80S. So you've got 120 kilometers an hour top speed, 3000 kilowatts of power with the EP2. With the VL80, you've got 110 top speed, but 6000 units of power. And that's what this train looks like. The next unlock comes in 1984, which brings us the DF4B. And why is this change relevant? Well, we get the DF4B, or if you wait a little bit longer, just a few more years to 1989, you get a very slight upgrade with the C40. I mean, there's a very slight upgrade from the DF4B on this train. It's up to you, but all of your shunter trains for cargo at this point, you should upgrade to having a lead loco of DF4B or the C40. These are good trains for your shunter trains. Because remember, we're getting to that stage in the game now where these trains are going pretty fast. Up until the year 2000, and this is a crucial year, because in the year 2000, we finally unlock a lift on the speed restriction for the train cars. So now our cargo can go even faster with 160 kilometers an hour, which is the fastest a cargo train can go in Transport Fever 2. And this presents a lot more options to us. If we look on the electric menu, for example, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 options available for a locomotive. So out of all of these options, you've got quite a few to choose from. You can really pick whichever one you want. There is definite differences between a lot of these. For the most powerful one, obviously the BR103 is pretty good. But you are wasting a little bit of money for paying for the upkeep of this because it's a train that goes 200 top speed. And if you're only going 160, you're kind of wasting money there. It's not as efficient as it could be. Same goes for the AEM7 and very slightly as well for the SS9G. So the options really that you've got to choose from is the BR185, the E60C, the GG1 and the CHS4. And the most powerful out of all of these is the CHS4. So you can optionally, if you want to upgrade early, you can get the CHS4. You can do an optional early upgrade to this locomotive if you want, or you can wait a little bit longer because in 2018 you unlock the Eurodual. Because the Eurodual is a direct upgrade from the class CHS4. In terms of power, it's got the same top speed, but it's got a lot more power. As you can see, it's a direct upgrade. You can add that onto your trains, and that is the best cargo locomotive in Transport Fever 2, the Eurodual. And we've already got really high-end locos on our shunters at this point, so this doesn't need changing. There's no better trains that unlock following this for the shunter routes. these are the best ones you can get. Also, don't forget, once you've made your cargo hub setups, you can go ahead and you can find your original point-to-point moneymaker route, and you can go ahead and delete it. You definitely do not need all these 6 wheels anymore. Get rid of these, sell them all. Same goes for this route. Anything like this that's just designed to make money, you can sell it now because you don't need it. It's going to be adopted into the new system. You can get rid of all of this. And I would say only delete if you built this on the cheap. If you did a good job designing in the first place and made the tracks really flat and really straight, then it's kind of worth keeping a lot of the track because you can reuse it, especially if it's double tracked and connecting up industries that are a little bit further away. But generally speaking, I just like at this point to delete any old infrastructure that's kind of outdated, and I'll just start again and do a better job the second time around. Now I've got more ability to do things with more resources. You can see here that this track is really twisty-turny, which is just not good. We need to keep the tracks as straight as possible. But at any point past 1900, this track is already outdated. So a general quick overview, because obviously everyone's not going to be playing in the end game like I'm playing right here with the best trains. In the early game, so like 1900 onwards, your hub connector train should be going 80 kilometers an hour, and your cargo shunter train should be going 45 to 75 kilometers per hour. In the mid-game, 1950 onwards-ish, a hub connector is about 120 kilometers an hour, shunter is about 80 to 90 kilometers an hour, and in the late game, the hub connector train should be going 160, and the shunters should be going 80 to 100 kilometers an hour should be your speeds on your lines. And these are the best speeds I've analysed and spent a lot of time researching to get the best, most optimum setup. But don't go anywhere, because when you're starting your game, it's really difficult to get your foot in the door and make some money to be able to make these efficient setups and do them well. And that's why you need to watch this video, which shows you the best way of starting any Transport Fever 2 game in 2026.